Okay, we're ready to begin tonight's Gardena City Council meeting for Tuesday, October the 25th, 2022. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Serta,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis,
Here.
Councilmember Henderson,
Here.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Here.
Councilmember Love.
Here.
All members of the council are present, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We need to go into closed session, but before we do, Madam City Clerk, do we have anybody from the public wishing to speak on a closed session item?
No, Madam Mayor, we do not.
Okay, so at this time, we're going to go into closed session and hopefully return at 7:30. So, okay.
All right. Oh, thank you.
and on, and then on. Blah, blah, blah.
this button. Testing. And leave it alone, and then you can. Testing. You just hit this button. Testing. Hit.
We're good? Good evening, everyone. We're ready to begin tonight's Gardena City Council meeting for Tuesday, October the 25th, 2022. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Serta,
Here?
Mayor Pro Tem Francis,
Here.
Councilmember Henderson,
Here.
Councilmember Tadanka,
Here.
Councilmember Love.
Here.
All members are present.
Okay, thank you. Madam City Attorney, do we have anything to report from closed session?
Madam Mayor, members of the council met tonight with regards to closed session items on the agenda 2A through 2G. Staff was provided with direction, but there was no reportable action taken. That concludes my report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Let me just read this here, just so everybody knows how our meeting's going to go. If you would like to participate in this meeting, you can participate via the following options. The first way is you can view our meeting live on Spectrum Channel 22, online at youtube.com/City of Gardena. The second way to participate is prior to the meeting. You can email our Deputy City Clerk at publiccomments@cityofgardena.org by 5 p.m. on the day of the meeting and write public comments in the subject line. The third way is attend the meeting in person, as all of you are. For public comments, the City Council will hear from the public on any item on the agenda or any item of interest that is not on the agenda at the following times. The agenda items at the time of the City Council meeting considers the item or during oral communications. Non-agenda items are during oral communications, and public hearings at the time of the public hearing listed on the agenda. If you wish to address the City Council, please complete a speaker request form. It looks like this. And present it to our City Clerk or Sergeant at Arms. Please raise your hand, City Clerk and Sergeant at Arms, right here. You can give it to them at that time. You will be called to the podium by me, by name, for your turn to address the council. The City Council cannot legally take any action on items not scheduled on the agenda. Such items may be referred for administrative action or scheduled on a future agenda. Members of the public wishing to address the City Council will be given 3 minutes to speak. Our standards of behavior that promote civility at all of our public meetings. Treat everybody courteously, listen to others respectfully, exercise self-control, give open-minded consideration to all viewpoints, focus on the issues and avoid personalizing debate, and embrace respectful disagreement and dissent as a democratic right, inherent components of an inclusive public process and tools for foregoing sound decisions. So I'd like to thank all of you in advance for your attendance as well as your cooperation. So with that being said, I'm going to ask our pledger to come forward now. Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Ethan Carter, and then immediately following that, we will have our invocation by Ms. Joyce Watanabe. So,
Right hand over your heart.
everybody please stand first.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Continue standing.
O ye roses in the garden of God's love, O ye bright lamps in the assemblage of his knowledge, may the soft breathings of God pass over you. May the glory of God illumine the horizon of your hearts. Ye are the waves of the deep sea of knowledge. Ye are the massed armies on the plains of certitude. Ye are the stars in the skies of God's compassion. Ye are the stones that put the people of perdition to flight. Ye are clouds of divine pity over the gardens of life. Ye are the abundant grace of God's oneness that is shed upon the essences of all created things. On the outspread tablet of this world, ye are the verses of his singleness, and atop lofty palace towers, ye are the banners of the Lord. In his bowers are ye the blossoms and sweet-smelling herbs. In the rose garden of the Spirit, the nightingales. Ye are the birds that soar upward into the firmament of knowledge, the royal falcons on the wrist of God.
Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, Ethan, if you can come back to the front, please. So tonight's Pledge of Allegiance was led by Ethan Carter, who is in the 8th grade. He attends Wilders Preparatory Academy Charter School. Today we have Ethan Carter joining us from Wilders Preparatory Academy Charter School. He's a great student and a leader who, as of last week, he was just elected as Student Council President. So give him a round of applause. So thank you again, Ethan, for leading us in tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. And is there anything you would like to say?
I would like to say thank you, Mayor Tasha Serta and the Gardena City Council for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Did a good job. Okay, and next we had an invocation tonight that was led by Ms. Joyce Watanabe from the Baha'i Faith. Ms. Watanabe, please come back to the front. Let's see, Ms. Watanabe's family came to Gardena in 1955. Joyce was on the Gardena High School drill team and marched in the Oil Loyalty Day Parade. She graduated with the California Scholarship Federation Gold Seal and went to work at the Los Angeles City Hall, where she became a secretary to the president of the Board of Public Works. She has designated the Gardena Public Works Department as the beneficiary of her final pension check from the Los Angeles City Employees Retirement System. Joyce became a member of the Baha'i Faith in 1965. She worked at the Baha'i National Headquarters in Illinois and at the International Headquarters in Israel, where she was one of 600 Baha'i from 50 countries. The first Gulf War began at the time, and she carried her gas mask with her everywhere. Later, while living in Northern California, Ms. Watanabe was secretary to the San Francisco Port Director and to the Golden Gate Bridge Chief Engineer. She retired from college of Marine and returned to her teenage home in Gardena. Since then, she has been invited to other South Bay Baha'is to walk in the Gardena Martin Luther King Jr. and Cinco de Mayo parades. Ms. Watanabe was the writer and publisher of the Gardena Valley Friends of the Library newsletter for a dozen years. In February of 2015, she was honored by the YWCA Gardena Valley with a Woman of Excellence Crimson Award for her dedicated efforts as a community volunteer. Ms. Watanabe, would you like to say anything?
Thank you, Mayor Serta and members of the Gardena City Council. I'm glad to be back with you. I thank Alex Orozco for inviting me, and I'm grateful for Nancy Ward's years of excellence to the city. This is my first meeting with Mayor Pro Tem Francis and Councilmember Love. I have a sentence from a Baha'i talk more than 100 years ago that connects equality of women and men to the birds that soar in knowledge and the falcons on the wrist of God. That's us, those birds. For a bird to fly, the two wings must be of equal soundness. Consider women and men to be each wing so we can fly together. In honor of the newest council members and all the women in the chambers tonight, we love the men too. Here are words from Abdu'l-Baha, the son of the founder of the Baha'i Faith, at a talk in New York City in 1912. So it will come to pass that when women participate fully and equally in the affairs of the world, when they enter confidently and capably the great arena of laws and politics, war will cease. Thank you.
Thank you. Please give her a round of applause as well. Okay, so next we're going to move on to presentations. First item up, I was just notified that State Senator Bradford will not be able to make it tonight, but he will be here in the month of December to give his legislative update. But we have with us tonight Assemblymember Tina McKinnon. She will give her legislative update as well. So, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, City of Gardena. I want to thank Mayor Serta, Mayor Pro Tem Francis, and Councilmember Henderson, Love, and Tanaka for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about who I am and what I plan on doing to shake things up in Sacramento. For those who don't know me, my name is Tina McKinnon, and I have lived and served in this district for the majority of my life. And like many of you, I'm an activist who's dedicated to being the change that many neighbors and communities need. Activists are, in a sense, activated by lived experience, whether it be related to growing up in poverty or existing as racial minority. These experiences awaken something within us that we cannot ignore. Many of you are familiar with the event that ignited my activism, which was the Rodney King riots that took place in my community. As the mother of 2 Black men, it was deeply troubling to witness the extent of abuse Mr. King had sustained by his assailants and the lack of accountability that followed. As we all know, a riot is the language of the unheard, said best by the late Reverend Martin Luther King, and I was activated by my community's cries. Simply an important idea after all the work at every level. I am so sorry. Can I have mine? We switched and I left out half of my stuff. When the dust settled, with my sons in tow, I began to promote civic engagement and voting through volunteering for local campaigns. I volunteered for a number of campaigns, including the John Kerry campaign and Maxine Waters campaign. And these experiences propelled me into the work I have dedicated my career to for the past 20 years. I went on to serve as the district director for Senator Bradford. He was the assembly member at the time, and chief of staff to then Assemblymember Ottenberg. I became the first Black director of the California Democratic Party, and I take immense pride in the work I did with LA Voice Action to organize congregations across LA County. I would also like to highlight some of the wins of this legislative session and to touch on some of the things that I will be fighting for when I get sworn in again on December 5th. This year's budget included $231 billion for health and human services, which includes over $200 million to protect the right to safe and accessible reproductive care and $209 million to invest in the children's behavioral health, which includes investment in mental health services for our youngest generations, including suicide prevention outreach and crisis response. Speaking of our children, we also included in the budget about $130 billion to fund K through 12 school for our 6 million children statewide, which includes much needed support for our hardworking teachers and school staff. Added funding for our schools also includes increases for our higher ed schools, including investments in our facilities, student housing, funding UC labor and workforce centers, investing in our foster youth children, and increased funding to implement transfer reform programs for our community colleges. We also approved billions of dollars to help our most vulnerable communities, including invested in skilled nursing facilities and expanding Medicare funding. We're also making historic with unprecedented funding to tackle climate change, investing in sustainable communities, active transportation, and tackling our water issues, just to name a few. The state has also approved over $21 billion in homelessness and housing resources this year in the budget, with programs ranging from transformative housing for foster care youth to assisting unhoused individuals who are living in encampments. Which brings me to the one bill I had last year. and it was AB 1743, and I hope you guys are not upset with me about this bill. I'm asking every city and county across the state to report how much housing they have built and how much occupancy, who's actually living in the housing, how much low-income housing you've built, and how much affordable housing you've built. This passed unanimously through the Assembly and through the Senate and was signed by the governor. Look, we've invested billions of dollars in building housing because of our homeless crisis. And when I got to the Assembly, I asked, can I see the data on how much housing we've actually built? There was none. And so I decided to introduce a bill that at least let us know how much housing is being built out there and where we should invest those dollars. Because I was an accountant and data is my thing. You know, I don't want to operate without data. Looking towards the upcoming legislative cycle, I plan on continuing on tackling our housing crisis by introducing legislation regarding faith-based housing. I'm also planning on addressing issues that will provide more services and resources to our previously incarcerated community. I'm also in the process of working on a bill that would address environmental justice issues that plague our cities. Working on improving the lives of all our residents isn't something that I can do alone, and look forward to working with the city of Gardena and all of you here in this chamber. I'm here as a resource for you as well. My staff is always available. Brandon, I hope you all know Brandon or get to know Brandon, is available to take your position and hear your perspective on what we can do to move Gardena forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we're going to hear a commission update here for our rent mediation board. And we have Gerlin Munoz with us, who is the owner rep, and he's going to give us an update on what's going on with rent mediation.
Good evening, Mayor.
You know what, hit that little button right there.
Good evening, Mayor Cerda and City Council members. My name is Gerlin Munoz, and I'm an owner representative with the Rent Mediation Board. There are a total of 15 members, 5 tenant representatives, and 5 owner representatives, and 5 members at large representatives. The Rent Mediation Board provides mediation services to Gardena residents who receive a notice of rent increase greater than 5% within a 12-month period. And for mobile homes, rent mediation is provided when the notice of rent increase is equal to or greater than 1% of the percentage increase in the Consumer Price Index. The Rent Mediation Board has been, we've been doing this since 1987, when the Gardena City Council passed the Rent Mediation Ordinance. The update is since January of 2022, the city has received a total of 30 cases, where 7 cases have been denied, and 12 cases have been closed, canceled before going to mediation, and a total of 7 cases have been resolved by going through our mediation department board. We currently have 4 pending cases, and if any Gardena residents have any questions regarding the rental increase, they can always contact the city manager's office.
Okay, thank you for that update.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Very good. I personally think rent mediation is probably one of the best commissions. I'm a little biased. I started there and I learned so much. So thank you again for that. Okay, so next up we have our Gardena Police Department recognition tonight. And I'm going to begin with the chief. I'll let you do a little introing this. I believe it's going to be presented by Teresa Maza. And we'll go from there.
All right, good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. I'd like to invite Ms. Maza from Lexipol up to give a few words about our policy and our training on those policies.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. So I'm here from Lexipol. I'm their client success manager, so I oversee their account, in which I also oversee 500 law enforcement, fire departments, custody, jails throughout Southern California. And I always say that Gardena is one of my star students. The chief and Captain Fox have made my job easy. We recognize clients based on their success with their policy, not only issuing policies out, but staying up to date on their policies as well as training, and then keeping up on their staff to acknowledge their policies and take those training bulletins, which also helps with risk mitigation. So out of 4,094 law enforcement clients throughout the United States with Lexipol, we have 1,332 who have reached the gold status, and Gardena being one of them. What I'm most proud about is that they didn't reach it just 1 year. They continue to maintain that gold status year over year. So that's something that they should be very proud about as well. So we present our clients with this plaque, and there's 3 different levels. There's bronze, silver, and gold, but they have achieved gold, which we send them out this plaque. So I again want to commend the chief and Captain Fox on a job well done. Thank you so much.
Wow.
So I'd like to call up Captain Todd Fox, who really is the engine behind our policies, just to say a couple words.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council. Yeah, I take this very seriously as well. I am always on our staff to make sure that they're doing their DTBs or daily training bulletins and acknowledge our policies. Anytime a new policy comes out, we also provide training pertaining to that policy. So if it's a use of force or pursuits, those kinds of things, we stay up to date on those things, and our officers acknowledge them. So I really owe a debt of gratitude to our officers and the staff that does that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I know we didn't do this earlier, but I think it would be appropriate if we took a picture with the plaque as well as the city council. So how about everybody just go down and we'll take a quick picture. Wish I had thought of that picture earlier. I'm off my game. Okay, so next up we have Gardena Red Ribbon Week. Accepting this proclamation is Tracy Sarawatari, and that's this first one here. As she's coming forward, I'll read the proclamation. It reads as follows. Whereas the abuse of drugs, alcohol, and tobacco impedes the ability of youth and adults to lead healthy, productive lives, and whereas California has led the nation in making expansive investments in prevention by launching the most ambitious prevention education program statewide, advocating that communities and individuals continue prevention and education programs and activities to discourage the abuse of alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. And whereas the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, also known as the CDC, and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, which is also the FDA, has issued information about recent outbreaks of lung disease, illnesses, and deaths associated with e-cigarettes and vaping use. And whereas the Gardena Drug and Alcohol Abuse Program, also known as GDAP, Coalition, in conjunction with the Gardena High School Task Force and ADAP Incorporated, are coordinating Gardena's Red Ribbon Week, celebrating to support year-round prevention educational efforts, offering citizens the opportunity to demonstrate their support of healthy, drug-free lifestyles and to develop an attitude of intolerance to the use of illegal drugs and the illegal use of legal drugs. And whereas established in 1985, the National Red Ribbon celebration will be observed again in 2022 in communities across America through Red Ribbon Week, which is October 23rd through the 31st, during which the citizens of Gardena will display their commitment to healthy, drug-free communities by wearing and displaying red ribbons during the week-long campaign. So at this time, I proclaim October 23rd through October the 31st, 2022, to be Gardena National Red Ribbon Week, and encourage all citizens of Gardena to participate in drug abuse prevention activities in conjunction with the important observations and to be proactive with our home schools, neighborhoods, and Gardena community-wide to raise awareness and take action against the harm caused by alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, prescription drugs, and related drug abuse that can deeply impact the lives of our young people in our community. And the City of Gardena is pleased to support the National Red Ribbon Week 2022 celebration theme, which is Celebrate Life, Live Drug Free. So this is the proclamation, and if we can just hand that to her. And if you'd like to say a few words.
I would.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I also have a gift for you all, official red ribbons. So Becky, if you can give those to everyone, not just council. So for those of you that don't know, I'm Tracy Sato-Atari, community organizer here in Gardena, as well as chair of the Adult Coalition GDAP, Gardena Drug and Alcohol Abuse Prevention Task Force. We focus on substance abuse prevention through education. And I want to thank you, Mayor Serta and council, for your support of our efforts here in Gardena for many years. Red Ribbon Week, as you know, is nationally recognized and celebrated to preserve Special Agent Enrique Camarena's memory and further the cause for which he gave his life. This is to reduce the demand for drugs through prevention and education programs. It is especially important now, more than ever, because of the rise of accidental overdoses happening with the youth from fentanyl-laced drugs. In the work that I do, we find that educating the youth and families about the harms and risks of substance use is an ongoing need, and recognizing Red Ribbon Week each year has become all the more important. And I thank you so much for your unending support of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And also thank Officer Sterling Kim as well. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch the other.
This is
young lady.
Monica Christorian, one of our interns through Cal State Dominguez.
Okay, thank you guys all
Thank you.
for coming before us. Give them a round of applause, please. Okay, and the next proclamation here is for Lights On After School, and accepting that is Diana Medell. And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the citizens of the City of Gardena stand firmly committed to quality after-school program and opportunities, and whereas during the COVID-19 pandemic, Boys and Girls of Carson After-School Program have risen to the moment to support youth and are critical support to help youth recover from this challenging time and address their academic, social, and emotional needs. After-school programs provide engaging, hands-on learning and opportunity to connect with caring adults and peers. During the pandemic, programs have innovated to provide remote living support, virtual programming, care for children of essential workers, meal support, wellness check-ins, and more. Today, programs are supporting young people and families as they navigate the return to school, and will continue to innovate to meet every changing needs. Whereas the City of Gardena has provided significant leadership and community involvement in the education of well-being of youth, grounded in the principle that quality after-school programs are key to helping our children become successful adults. Whereas Lights On After School, the national celebration of after-school programs held this year on October 20th, 2022, promotes the importance of quality after-school programs in the lives of children, families, and communities. Whereas many after-school programs across the country are facing operating challenges so severe that they are forced to consider closing their doors and turning off their lights. Whereas the City of Gardena is committed to investing in the health and safety of all young people by providing expanding learning opportunities that help our children learn and grow while helping them develop the skills essential for a successful life and work. So at this time, I proclaim October 20th, 2022 to be Lights On After School Day, and encourage all citizens of Gardena to enthusiastically endorse Lights On After School Day and commit to engaging in innovative after-school programs that ensure the lights stay on and the doors stay open for all children after school. And if we could just hand this to Ms. Mendel. And if you'd like to say anything.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We thank you so much for uplifting after-school programs all across Gardena. Lights on After School is a very special national event that all of our after-school partners participate in, and so we're very grateful that the City of Gardena decided to also uplift after-school programs and make a commitment to help us and help all our partners keep their lights on after school. So we appreciate each and every one of you, and thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next we're going to move on to appointments. Does any member of the council have any appointments to any commissions, councils, or boards at this time?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Before I introduce my first appointment for the evening, I want to say I met this young man during a case where I was contacted about a homeless person that was staying in the, on the bus stop on Normandy and Redondo. And then she moved into the Starbucks, and a lot of the Starbucks employees had contacted me to get her some help. And I put a call out to get this woman some assistance and get her housed. And this young man, months ago, contacted me and told me that he was going to go and assist this woman. And, you know, a lot of times people say they're going to do what they're going to do, and they don't do it. Well, I reached back out to the young man because I was still getting calls about the woman, and he said, Miss Love, my team and I went out to Starbucks at 5 a.m. to offer this woman some assistance, and she refused. And that was that. You know, life went on, and I was sworn in on July 12th, and so getting my commissioners appointed was a real task for me because I wanted to make sure that my commissioners had experience in what I was appointing them to or integrity. And it was a challenge trying to find some people that fit those criteria. But nevertheless, I stayed persistent, and I happened to meet this young man's father, came to my office about a totally different situation not long ago. And I had no idea that the person that showed up to my office was the father of the same person that assisted the woman with housing. And so I met with him and had a great conversation. And so I asked him to send me his resume. And when I read his resume, I was amazed. And I called him back and I said, hey, would you mind being a commissioner for me on the planning commission? And he has the experience, he has the work ethics, he's a minister, and he checked all the boxes. And so I was so excited when he accepted my my offer to appoint him as my commissioner. So that's, do I call him up or you call him?
Call their name.
Okay.
Just call their name.
I want to introduce to you guys Carlos Davis.
Okay, so Carlos, you can stay right there just for a second. And then your any other appointments?
I do. My second appointment, again, it was, you know, I told you how important it was. And so I was having a hard time. And so I spoke with a couple of, I was talking to it in the city clerk's office. And it was recommended that one of our city employees had a niece that fit the criteria. And so she recommended Ms. Samantha Cordero. And she happens to be the my youth planning commissioner.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any more appointments tonight? If not, can I get a motion to appoint these two? Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Henderson. Will you call the roll?
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis.
Yes.
Councilmember Love.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay. So you are officially approved. Are we swearing them in tonight? Okay. If either of you would like to come forward and say anything, Mr. New Planning Commissioner, come on forward if you like, as well as Youth Commissioner. Either one can start first.
Hello, council members. My name is Samantha Badillo.
I would like to thank Councilmember Love for this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations in advance. Mr. Davis?
Good evening, everyone. Just want to first thank our mayor, Mayor Serta, for this opportunity, and our council members. Appreciation to Councilmember Love for the opportunity. I come to accepting a task that I definitely don't take lightly. I believe in whole that this is a chance to address our local environment and ensure that all planning and future endeavors truly capitalize on the quality of life that our residents so greatly deserve to be at its best potential. I've spent years within the grassroots developments in regards to homelessness and the disenfranchised communities. And during the onset of the pandemic, I helped support the development and the pilot programs such as Project Roomkey and developed isolation and quarantine sites to cut down the spread of COVID-19. I have walked through these streets of Gardena, not only have lived through them with DMH and DHS alike, and ensured that we got our most vulnerable populations vaccinated within SPY 8. And I know the need for resources, and I know the great majority of the barriers that are present within our local community. I am a member of the Western Baptist State Convention, and I wear that proudly. It is a catalyst and a platform for equitable change and development. I believe in fair housing, better air, and neighboring issues such as homelessness and the lack of resources that I'm sure we all can agree must be addressed. I want to give thanks to my family who is watching and my grandmother who couldn't be here tonight, and also my trustee cabinet from my church that are here to have my back on tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Give them a round of applause, everyone. Congratulations in advance to your new position. Okay, so next we're going to move on to consent calendar. Madam City Clerk, do we have anybody from the public wishing to speak on the consent calendar?
No, we do not, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so at this time, does any member of the council have any questions or comments on any of the items here on the consent calendar? No? Okay. That being said, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar as is?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion by Councilmember Love and a second by Councilmember Henderson. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Love.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis.
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, just for, just to mention this here, our Planning and Environmental Quality Commission action sheet, our October the 18th, 2022 meeting was canceled, so there's nothing to report there. Next, we have oral communications, and I see we have 3 speakers, and let me see if they can start making their way to the front. Andrea Simmental, and Sam Stewart, and Tracy Sawaratari. And I just want to remind all of our speakers that you are to limit your remarks to 3 minutes, unless it's extended by myself. This here is your timekeeper. When the amber light comes on, it will alert you that your 2 minutes are up. And when the red light comes on, it will let you know that your 3 minutes are over. So let's go ahead and begin with the first one. Andrea?
Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, my name is Andrea Simmental, and I'm the manager at Masao W. Sato Library. We are located at 14433 South Crenshaw Boulevard, and although we are in an unincorporated area, we do serve Gardena residents. Our hours are currently Monday through Thursday, 10 to 8, and Friday and Saturday, 10 to 6. We are a newly remodeled library. We reopened after a refurbishment in June 2021, and we welcome you all to visit our location. We have several promotions going on right now for children and teens. We have our In and Out Cover to Cover Club that runs through November 12th. Children ages 4 through 12 can come in the library and sign up, and for every 5 books they read, they'll receive a gift card to In and Out for a free hamburger or cheeseburger. Our 43rd annual bookmark contest runs through October 29th and is open to children and teens in kindergarten through 12th grade. We encourage young people to celebrate books and reading and art by participating in the contest and designing a bookmark. Winning designs will be featured at their local library and throughout LA County. You can pick up a entry form at the library, or participate online at lacountylibrary.org/bookmark-contest. For children, coming up in November, we have a take-home activity kit for ages 5 to 12.
It's making a treasure map. Supplies are included, and parents and caregivers and children can pick up a kit in person while supplies last. For teens, October is Teen Read Month, and we encourage a love of books and reading. Teens can pick up a bingo card at the library, and when they finish it, they'll receive an incentive and a free book. In November, the Teen Take-Home Activity Kit is Weave Your Own Bookmark and is available on a first-come, first-served basis. For adults, in November is Native American Heritage Month, and we have a take-home activity kit featuring Yankton, Dakota artist Mary Sully, a self-taught artist known for her modern abstract style of symmetrical geometrical shapes. With the kit, you can learn about artist Mary Sully and create your own inspired artwork. Also available while supplies last. Additionally, the library has rapid antigen COVID-19 test kits available, limit 10 per person or household. And tomorrow, October 26th, is our last day hosting community ambassadors from the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles. Ambassadors will be available to assist with the online Section 8 waiting list housing lottery application from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next speaker is Sam Stewart. Oh, go just hit it again and it'll come on. There you go.
Hi. Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council members. I am Sam Stewart. I recently bought a home at Rosecrans Place and very excited to be here in Gardena now. I just would like to bring a couple of things to the City Council's attention. The first being the U-Haul that's near our complex. We have the derelict restaurant on that complex that's been there for a number of years. And I'm just concerned with the number of children there. There's been some rumors that there's been a prostitute or a drug deal happening in that little area. And as we were preparing for Halloween, we really want to make sure that we are doing what we can to make sure that that area is safe. And also in that area, there was a water issue that created some sewage that came around. And I reported it to the city, but they said that it's a city, not something that the city can do something about because it's a violation on private property. So just would be really helpful if somebody could help address the sewage issue that is happening right next to our complex. And you know, there is a U-Haul plan for a redevelopment that they announced a few months ago, that they are looking to build a building that is 2 times the size of our buildings, and we are just, I am very concerned about the character of the neighborhood changing, and also the availability of our solar panels, which are on our roofs, which will not work if there are a building 2 times the size of ours right next door to us. And so that's all that I have to say on the U-Haul. I listened to the YouTube video of the last city council meeting. I heard that there was a dog park potentially coming online, and I would just like to say that it'd be really nice to have one at the Van Ness location with 3 townhomes around that area and no yards. It would be really helpful to have a place for the dogs to go. And then finally, it was very convenient to have the city council meetings over Zoom. And right now, that's no longer an option with the in-person, and I'm wondering if it is possible to bring back a Zoom option to have some of these city council meetings, and also to record the planning commission meetings, because there's a lot happening there that I would like to be aware of and familiar with what's happening, but and am unable to attend all of the meetings in person, and it'd be nice to have it on YouTube as well.
Okay. Just so you know, the Planning Commission meetings, there are notes on that. So
Yes.
there is documentation of the meeting, the minutes. And then in regards to the issue with potential prostitution or children hanging out, if you can speak with the chief on the way out, as well as our Public Works Director, Alan, is in the back as well. He can step out and maybe help you as far as maybe explaining a little bit about that violation, the water violation, and
Yeah.
maybe give you some direction as far as what's going on with that, if anything. So they'll be waiting for you outside in the back here.
Okay.
Okay?
do that.
Thank you very much for bringing all of this to our attention.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have.
Madam Mayor, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
We have 3 written communications, oral
Okay.
communications I'd like to mention.
Okay.
We received 3 emails, and they were forwarded to the council, and they have been put into the record and are available for the public's viewing if they should desire to do so, to please contact the city clerk's office. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for reminding me of that. Our last speaker we have is Tracy Sarwatari. Please come forward.
Hi again, it's me. So I just wanted to remind residents of Gardena that the prescription drug take-back event is happening this Saturday. It's an opportunity for people to clear out their cupboards, get rid of unused, unwanted prescription drugs, even over-the-counter medications in a safe way. We're partnering with the Gardena Police Department and the DEA. We'll be accepting all of your medications will be outside in front of the police department from 10 to 2. The only thing that we can't take this time is sharps. We can't take needles. We can't take thermometers. We can't take hazardous waste. But all other medications will be taken to a site where they'll be incinerated. I do have flyers here, so if anyone wants a physical flyer, but they are also online. I've seen them on the GPD website, also on our GDAP page as well. So just wanted to let everybody know this Saturday. Becky, do you want some flyers, physical flyers? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next moving on to departmental items. First item up is item number 13A. Councilmember Tanaka?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On this one, I'm going to have to recuse myself, actually, because I'm within the 500 feet.
Okay, so at this time, I will need
For the
you to-
record, that's your residential home.
Okay, we'll need you to step outside of the chamber, and we will call you when we conclude with this item here. So, and for those of you who don't know, Madam City Attorney, can you explain why we do that in a little more detail? I'm sorry.
Sure. Whenever there's a project that's going on, and it's not a project that affects the entire community, there's some exceptions, but in this specific project that we're going to be discussing, it's the Aquatic Senior Center, and that's within 500 feet of Councilman Tanaka's residence. And based on that, he is, any council member who has such a conflict must recuse themselves. And since we've come back from COVID, before it was enough for the council to just state they were recusing themselves. In the last 2 years, the legislature has passed legislation where now the council member, the public official, must also leave the actual dais. So hence why Councilmember Tanaka has left today while we deal with this item, and he'll return after we're done.
Correct. Okay. That being said, item number 13A, Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serter, members of the City Council, agenda item 13A is for resolution number 6607, authorizing a deed restriction to the Gardena Community Aquatic and Senior Center properties that is required as a condition of the grant award for the statewide park development and community revitalization program from the State of California Department of Parks and Recreation Office of Local Grants and Services. On July 1st, 2021, the California Department of Parks and Recreation's Office of Grants and Local Services conditionally approved grant SW 19081 in the amount of $8,500,000 for the creation of the Gardena Community Aquatic and Senior Center in the city of Gardena. This included acquiring approximately 0.36 acres of land, construction of community aquatic and senior center building, a new swimming pool with shade, seating, fencing, public art, lawn with pathways, outdoor gym area with exercise equipment stations, shaded picnic areas, 88 parking lot, and landscaping and lighting throughout the park on the property. The grant approval is subject to, among other conditions, a recordation of a deed restriction on the property. Deed restrictions are to ensure that the properties will be used for the purposes consistent with the grant through June 30th, 2050. There is no financial impact. What is required tonight is to adopt resolution number 6607.
Okay, thank you. Madam City Clerk, do we have anybody from the public wishing to speak on this item?
No, we do not, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments on this item? No? With that being said, can I get a motion to adopt resolution number 6607?
I move we adopt Resolution 6607.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Henderson and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Francis. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis.
Yes.
Councilmember Love.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay. Can we ask Councilmember to come back in? Thank you. Okay, next up is item number 14A, which is the COVID-19 update. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, for tonight's COVID-19 update, pleased to announce that the total case count in the city of Gardena has increased minimally. There are 87 case count increase since the last council meeting. That case count now is at 20,230. Also pleased to announce that there were no additional deaths from the 2 weeks that we reported. It remains at 279. Children 5 through 11 is at 36.3% vaccinated. Ages 12 and above is at 89.3%. The youth 12 to 17 is at 82.4%, and our seniors 65 and over is at actually over 95%. COVID-19 testing remains available at Raleigh Park as of October 25th. Total residents tested is at 7,728. That is 42 tests since the last council meeting. That ends my COVID-19 report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? No? Okay, so let's move on to item number 16A. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 16A is the award construction contract for the fire station number 158 roof replacement project, water damaged ceiling repair phase, job number 509 to Classic Engineering and Construction Incorporated in the amount of $653,000 and approved the project plans and specifications, approved budget appropriation of $302,000 from deferred maintenance funds, and declare California Environmental Quality Act CEQA exemption. Fire station number 158 building, located at 1650 West 162nd Street, is a city-owned property occupied by LA County's Fire as a tenant. During the winter of 2020-2021, the building roof began to leak, causing the second floor ceiling tiles to fall off the substrate. Due to the severely damaged roof, Assistant Fire Chief had notified the city and underwent emergency roof replacement to prevent further water damage. The roof replacement was completed in May 2021. However, the damaged interior ceiling repairs are still needed. The existing building services agreement with LA County Fire requires that non-routine repairs such as roof replacements are considered major repairs and are the responsibility of the city, including resulting damages. LA County Fire utilized the county's internal services procedure to procure a contractor and executed the roof replacement. The total cost was $281,810 and 10 cents, and the city reimbursed County Fire for 50%, which is $140,905.05 of the cost per council approval on September 28, 2021. County Fire was not required per the existing maintenance agreement. However, contributed 50% of the roof replacement cost under the assumption that the city would repair the interior water damages. Subsequently, the construction development phase of the project, led by the city, has been completed and the bids have been solicited. The water damage ceiling repair scope consists of replacing 7,670 square feet, 3 levels of existing interior and exterior light fixtures with LED type, new switches and occupancy sensors, replacement existing acoustical ceiling grid system with acoustical tiles, repair of selected hard ceiling, new HVAC ducts to extend relocated registers, replacement of existing exhaust fans located on the roof, including abatement of asbestos and or lead and all incidental work. A total of 12 bids were received on October 5th. And Classic Engineering Construction Incorporated submitted the lowest responsible and responsive bid. They are a state licensed contractor with verified successful construction experience in the field and will be required to meet all bonding and financial standards. The tentative construction start date is January 2023, with an anticipated project completion in June 2023. Staff recommends that the City Council award the construction contract for the Gardena Fire Station number 158 roof replacement project, water damage ceiling repair phase, job number 509 to Classic Engineering and Construction in the amount of $653,000, and additionally approve the project plans and specifications, approve the budget appropriation in the amount of $302,000 deferred maintenance funds to supplement the existing budget, and 25% construction contingency. And lastly, declare the project to be categorically exempt under CEQA class section 15301D as rehabilitation of existing facilities. Source of funding is $654,000 from deferred maintenance and $302,000 again from deferred maintenance. Total scope is $956,000. What's required is award construction contract, approve project plans and specification, approve budget appropriation and contingency, and declare the CEQA exemption.
Okay, thank you. Madam City Clerk, do we have anybody from the public wishing to speak on this item?
No, we do not, Mayor.
Okay, does any member of the council have any questions or comments?
Just one quick, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead.
As I understand it, the problem with the roof to begin with was the pine trees or the needles from the pine trees falling on the roof that caused, so what are we doing to fix that so we don't have that problem anymore? I mean, besides just wear and tear.
Right. The one of the contributing factors most likely were the droppings from the pine. So the cure for that would be more frequent cleanings of the roof structure. Get the pine needles out more frequently, so that I mean, it contributed to that, but that's not the entire issue. The issue is probably age, among other things. So I mean, it's one of them, but.
Okay, and LA County is chipping in or helping us out on making a contribution too. Is that
Yes.
what I heard you say? Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I kind of want to piggyback off that Mayor Pro Tem mentioned there as it related to the pine cones dropping from the trees. I understand it's an old roof, and I get the pine cones are heavy, especially when it rains and so on, because I think we may have had problems similar to that here, but it still seems like the trees are still a contributing factor to that. And I do know that the firemen, they're constantly cleaning up the roof, cleaning off the roof because they have, I guess, weekly chores and so on. So, I mean, that's great we're fixing this here, but I'm wondering still as far as moving forward, I mean, looking to maybe cut those trees down and maybe replant some new trees there or something?
I'm not sure if there was a study done recently. Alan, would you mind coming up and saying something about the trees related to the roof?
I mean,
being
I'm no
damaged?
expert, but I did get a chance to go up. I was asked to come over there, and I got a chance to go up there and see the roof and, how often, the firemen say that they were cleaning this. But I know you guys have checked it out more thoroughly. I just didn't know how, what part of that is, a contributing factor to this.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. We did take a look. The pine needles, they do drop onto the roof, but we did not feel it was a severe enough impact to remove those trees. What we have done, if you notice the trees that are in front of the fire department, we've actually trimmed those back in line with the building.
Okay.
Looks a little odd, but it does keep those needles off of the roof. I had heard the concern before, so we've done everything we can short of removing those trees, and if it was the direction of the council, we would remove them.
Okay. So you mentioned that they're cut back with the line, so it's far enough back that they shouldn't drop on there unless it's just some strong wind or something that pushes them over.
Correct.
Okay. Good enough for me. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Considering that this is an issue or contributing to an issue in the roofing for the fire department, is the palm tree or tree leaf droppings an issue on any other buildings in the city that we can address before we have to replace other roofs?
Alan can shed some more light on that.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. No, I'm not aware of any other roofs that have those impacts. As you're probably well aware, the city has a lot of deferred maintenance. The City Hall roof was recently replaced after many leaks and many years. They did the fire department themselves. We just did Nakaoka. So we are going through and repairing those roofs. They're just old. Flat roofs have a tendency to leak when they're not repaired proactively, and so it is on our radar to replace other roofs, but I'm not aware of any other impacts from trees to roofs.
Okay. Okay, any more questions, comments?
Just a quick comment.
Go ahead.
The trees near the fire station,
Mm-hmm.
that goes way back.
Right.
Back to Don Deere days. And
Right.
So it's been an ongoing issue for that long. So at least, yeah. And one time they did talk about cutting the trees, and that was not a very popular decision, as I might recall. I thought there was some historical significance to those trees, but I talked with Don Deere, and Don said, no, Paulette, there's no historical significance to those trees. So at any rate, it's been a long time. So I'm probably dating myself, but who's counting? Anyway,
Well, I
but
think
just to add the conversation.
Well, I think that's good. I mean, because when it comes down to where it's taken away or tearing up the property, then sometimes it has to go, but we can always replace it if that becomes the case. So, okay, if there are no more questions or comments on this item here, can I get a motion to award the construction award the construction contract, approve project plans and specifications, approve budget appropriations and contingency, and declare CEQA exemptions? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion by Councilmember Love, a second by Councilmember Tanaka, and will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Love,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 16B, Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 16B is to award the preventative maintenance and repair services for heating, ventilating, and air conditioning, or HVAC contract of FM Thomas Air Conditioning Incorporated in the amount of $234,878 and declare California Environmental Quality Act CEQA exemption. In August of 2022, a request for proposal was released for the preventative maintenance and repair services for the heating, ventilating, and air conditioning contract for all 13 owned buildings. In September of 2022, staff received 3 proposals for the 3-year contract, which included 2 optional years to extend. ABM Building Solutions LLC from Tustin bid $182,048, which turned out to be a non-responsive bidder. FM Thomas Air Conditioning Incorporated from Brea at $234,878. Honeywell International Incorporated from La Palma at $288,886 and 66 cents. FM Thomas Air Conditioning Incorporated submitted the responsive and best value bid. They are a state licensed contractor with verified successful maintenance experience in the field, and they currently maintain seven other cities of equal or larger size and 5 school districts. FM Thomas has been involved with citywide HVAC maintenance services since 1994, specializing in development of policies and procedures and providing journeyman technicians. ABM Building Solutions LLC submitted the apparent low bid in the amount of $182,48. However, they modified their maintenance service frequency on the bid schedule and therefore deemed to be non-responsive. Staff recommends that City Council award the preventative maintenance and repair services for HVAC contract to FM Thomas Air Conditioning Incorporated in the amount of $234,878 and declare this project to be categorically exempt under CEQA Article 19, Section 15301, Class 1, as a maintenance of existing facilities. This contract, it will be for 3 years, beginning fiscal year 2022 through 2025, with an option to extend the contract for up to an additional 2 years if the contractor performs satisfactorily. This will be from general fund for 3 years for 234,878. And what's required is to award the contract and declare CEQA exemption.
Okay, thank you. Madam City Clerk, do we have anybody from the public wishing to speak on this item?
No, we do not, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments on this item? Council?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay,
Just-
Mayor Pro Tem?
Just quickly. So, their contracts now is going to include maintenance and repair?
This contract is for maintenance and repair.
It's for maintenance and repair. What if, let's say it's Monday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, when the second time around, club is meeting and the air conditioning goes out? Will they come?
If there is an outage, for instance, then we call
something,
them.
you know.
Then obviously it depends on the response time specified under the bid. Then they'll come out and assess and repair as needed.
All right, and the controls be pretty easy for anyone to operate, won't be all complicated where it would take a technician to set?
You know, we have staff they're pretty versed in the minor troubleshooting of, let's say, the controls and whatnot. But for something major like diagnosing what the problem is, compressor, etc. I mean that's what we have them for. We'll call them out and they'll come out and assess and repair as needed.
So it includes all our parks?
Correct.
Park
All of our
roads,
all of our buildings, all of our
all our
properties.
buildings?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. If not, can I get a motion to award preventative maintenance and repair service contract as well as declare CEQA exemption?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Francis and a second by Councilmember Henderson. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Francis.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Love.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next up is item number 19A. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda item 19A is consideration of establishing an ad hoc committee to provide recommendations to the City Council on the use of grant funds for the Gardena Boulevard Revitalization Program. At the October 11, 2022 council meeting, staff received a council directive to determine the feasibility of establishing an ad hoc committee to receive input from the business community and on the use of the $2 million grant funds recently received for the Gardena Boulevard Revitalization Program. Staff looked into other cities that have established ad hoc committees for various matters. It was determined that a common way of establishing an ad hoc committee is having council choose 2 members of the council to serve as committee members. In addition, a staff member is usually assigned to provide administrative support, but does not take part in discussions or formulating recommendations. An ad hoc committee is normally given the responsibility of providing recommendations to the entire council after having conducted their research and discussions on the task of matters assigned to them by the City Council. The Gardena Boulevard Revitalization Program is focused on incubating new small businesses and providing support to local businesses along Gardena Boulevard by providing programs such as facade improvements, minor capital upgrades, startup costs, and other needed funding to support small businesses. An ad hoc committee may or may not conduct meetings in an open setting and may seek input from certain members of the community or with professionals approved by the City Council to assist in their research. At the conclusion of their meetings, the committee should be prepared to provide a full report to the City Council at a public meeting with their final findings and recommendations, as well as providing time for questions and answers from the entire City Council and the public. An ad hoc committee is expected to be dissolved once its specific task has been completed. There is no financial impact. What is required tonight is to direct staff on whether or not to establish an ad hoc committee.
Okay, thank you. I see we have one speaker here. Madam City Clerk, did you receive any additional speaker requests?
No, we
forms?
did not. That is the only one.
Okay, so the first speaker we have is Gilbert Bernal.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name's Gilbert Bernal Jr. I'm the owner of Anna's Mexican Restaurant on Gardena Boulevard and has been in the family since 1990. I'm here to support the ad hoc committee for the revitalization of Gardena Boulevard. It is important to have this committee so we can have a bridge to clearly communicate with both sides, which is also one of the reasons why many of us are not involved due to language barriers and information barriers. There are many opinions and ideas we can gather together to improve Gardena Boulevard, and who better than us that are in the midst of it every day. Not only can this committee give its output on what will make Gardena Boulevard shine again, but also give points on other major issues as homelessness and traffic control, as is among us as well. I believe to be that we heard and represented in a team effort so we can prosper as a community again. And I personally, excuse me, walked up and down today, spoke to from the littlest shop to the biggest shop, and they're all on board. Just, we want to see what we could do to better it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there are no other speakers here, I guess we'll open it up for discussion. Anybody want to go first with this here? Okay, start with Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm of the mindset that instead of creating another body to do some work, to just charge GBAC with having a public meeting in Nocyoke, and we have a community session, and everybody's just invited, and we get the input there, have the Economic Development Director facilitate the process, and then once we get the findings in the report, it comes to us, and then we just have a discussion versus creating another body to handle this. Something similar to what we did when we got the parks grant. We just did a community thing. The homeless plan, we did another community informational to gain some feedback. That way we can speed through the process quicker versus everybody trying to figure out who's going to be on the ad hoc committee. That's all I wanted to say to that.
Okay. Can I ask a quick question to our city attorney? If I'm not mistaken, all of our commissions, anybody from the public can attend that. Is that correct?
They're all standing commissions, so anyone from the public, they are open Brown Act compliant meetings.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any other, Councilmember Tanaka?
Yeah, I agree with what Councilmember Henderson's saying, because we as a council already appoint commissioners to GBAC, to some of the other commissions, and to recreate a wheel doesn't make sense, because now all of a sudden we're gonna create a new committee. Then we have to find out who's gonna be on that committee, how many people are gonna be, who's gonna lead it. It gets so convoluted that it takes too much time to take what money we have to try to distribute that. If we take what we already have in place and put those people in charge of that fund, and have our business community on the boulevard join that, I think the process moves along quicker, and the suggestions will be much more concentrated on what the boulevard actually needs from that area. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead.
I think it's important that we have, what you say is true, and I agree with both of you. However, there's no structure in place to get business owners, get their involvement, what they believe. When we received a block grant, I'm dating myself again, but to revitalize Van Ness Avenue between Rosecrans and 139th, there was created a Gardena, well, not a Gardena, but it was a Van Ness Business Revitalization Association. And that group involved all the business owners that were part of Van Ness between 139th, King's Liquor, Laverne Knight, Salon, all the business owners. U-Haul was a part of that process as well. And what they did was it was a structure where they got input from the businesses that were actually there, their lived experience, it got their input on what they wanted to see, not so much what GBAC. I'm not knocking GBAC. I think they're all business owners, and no one can tell you how to make money but somebody who's making money. However, we have no structure. An ad hoc committee is a temporary structure. It's not going to go on forever. It's just by its nature, it sets for a specific time period. It's tasked with specific responsibilities and duties, and this would be just to gather information. We have no structure in place. However, I do respect the opinion of the GBAC organization, a commission. This is not another commission. This is just a temporary committee to make sure we have a structure in place to get information. And regarding the community input, like with homeless strategy, I'm still waiting on that report. I still haven't gotten it. So I don't, I'm, straight talk makes for good understanding. That community input, we don't always get it. Although consultants say they do, we don't get it. I didn't get it in my, I'm waiting. I was going to ask about it anyway. So it's important that we create those structures so our business owners, the people that are there day to day, they know actually what they need and what's going to work for Gardena Boulevard. And so, like I said, it's a temporary, ad hoc committees are temporary structures, but at least we have some structure to get their input. Right now, there's nothing. GBAC, commission, again, great idea. However, we need something very specific and a structure to do that. Ad hoc committee is temporary. Once its mission is accomplished, it goes away. So that's my opinion. And thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
As a member of the businesses that are on Gardena Boulevard, and I've been there 16 years, Gardena Boulevard can use some revitalization. However, when I mentioned this at the last council meeting and brought this as a directive, it is because our businesses and our residents often feel left out of decisions that are made by council. One of the things that I wanted to do as a council member was to get community engagement and involvement. I, too, talked to a lot of the businesses on Gardena Boulevard, and I have literally walked Gardena Boulevard with our Assembly member, Mayor Sushi, back in the day, not that long ago, to talk to the businesses. I cannot see how, and I also want to say that I've sat on the GBAC committee for more than 10 years, and considering GBAC only meets once every 2 months, talking about dragging the process on, I think that would be a mistake. I think the best way to do this is to engage the businesses, the property owners, and the residents that reside on Gardena Boulevard in the process of deciding how to spend the funds to revitalize Gardena Boulevard. It's not going to be an easy task. Gardena Boulevard is, 99% built out. And so my ears to the ground, I hear what the residents are saying as far as what they want Gardena Boulevard to look like. It's going to be a hard task. But I don't think addressing this revitalization and the business owners are aware $2 million is not a lot of money, but it is something. We don't have the time to work with the businesses every 2 months to meet with them when GBAC meets to address their concerns and needs. Some of these businesses need assistance and they need it now. And I think the best way to approach this is by creating an ad hoc and getting the businesses involved and engaged and letting us know what they need from us that can be done with the $2 million or the funding that has been given to us. I don't think excluding the business owners or requiring them to attend a GBAC meeting that meets once every 2 months is going to resolve this matter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As far as my input, I think I'm going to be dating myself because I remember too when Van Ness received that $2 million. And at the time, I guess I wish back then that maybe they had went to GBAC to maybe they could help, give some direction, some guidelines. I remember that $2 million, what it paid for was paint as well as bulletproof windows where they were able to get this coating on there so that people couldn't graffiti over it. And again, $2 million, some signage, yeah. yeah, for a few buildings, they got signage there. But like we said, $2 million isn't a lot. But with GBAC, because it is a structured committee, and these are people that each one of us has appointed there, people that we all trust and we believe are good business people and that they'll do a good job. I appreciate hearing the concerns of the business owner from Gardena Boulevard. And as was mentioned, these meetings are open to the public, and knowing a good portion of the members on GBAC, I think they would be open and receptive to hearing all the suggestions and ideas. Now, remember, at the end of the day, it still comes back to this city council, and we make final say with this here. I would kind of caution the fact that every time we receive grant money, having these ad hoc committees, I'm not really all that comfortable with that. But I do think with a structured group like our GBAC commission, I think that's a good direction for this here, because it is dealing with businesses. And whether they're on Gardena Boulevard or anywhere throughout the city, I think the mindset is still the same. What's going to be best for the business here? I don't think that they're going to take any input negatively. I would think that they could relate better than anybody, because they are current business people. So I feel confident in the person who I appointed, and I like to think everybody else here is pretty confident with their person, that they'll do a good job with that. But I think it's a better structured way of doing this here, coming up with some guidelines. And again, public is they're available to attend this. They're available to make suggestions as well. So they won't be excluded in any way here. And even if the meeting does meet every other month, I mean, I hate to say it, but sometimes, I say this often in city government, we don't always move that quickly. And I mean, even still for meeting every other month, I mean, I think it still gives time to think things through methodically, be prepared for a meeting, and so on. And so I don't see that being a problem, meeting every other month. So I would be in favor of the idea of letting GBAC, along with opening it up to the public and making sure that residents on Gardena Boulevard and even the surrounding areas right there are aware of when those meetings are and if they would like to attend as well, because it does take some commitment to these meetings. I mean, there's a lot of people on Gardena Boulevard who may say, oh yeah, I'd like to be there, but these people who are already on GBAC have committed to these meetings. So that's why I feel a little bit more confident with that. So that's where I stand with it.
Madam Mayor, may I have another comment?
Sure, go ahead.
So if your concern is with creating an additional committee, we still need some type of structure to ensure that we're going to get input from the businesses, and that their voices and their concerns are going to be heard.
Correct.
And that they would not only be heard but be implemented as well. Because you were, and now the other thing is that particular group was led by our economic manager, Yvonne Mallory, at that time. She coordinated it. She got together with the businesses, organized regular meetings to make sure that they got what they wanted. Now, there was a community block grant money that was spent. They ended up, they had parking issues, so we did the parking lot in the back to create a nice parking lot, put some structure in, vegetation, trees. They did repaint the facade. It includes signage and the graffiti-proof windows, as you said, and all of that within this block. So, but there was some structure. So if you don't want the ad hoc committee, which is fine, if you don't like that whole idea, that kind of bothers you, we have to give the commission some direction to make sure that our businesses will have input. And that, and it's just not just the commission, just, oh, yeah, well, we'll give it to the commission. That's a great idea. And of course, I'm fully confident in the person I'm going to appoint to replace Wanda. However, if there's no structure in place, it's not going to happen. And, folks don't have time to just run down to GBAC. Maybe meets every third Wednesday or whatever it is. And I understand lately they really haven't been meeting there regular for, I don't know why. And I understand that people at one point had stopped coming. We had to write, maybe it's not for public consumption. However, I thought at one time we had some concerns about whether or not this commission was going forward, and people attendance was falling off, and this one was on and out. So I'm just saying, we need now. Could we, if you don't care for the ad hoc committee, could we direct our economic development manager to start to come up with a plan to engage the I'm not giving you a job. But see, it's really important because I've been around long enough to know that if you don't have something in place, it's not going to happen.
Mayor Pro Tem, just so you know, I believe our economic development manager does attend those meetings as well.
I know she does, but see, this is why I want a specific task. If we can, now, I don't know if this is okay, but like I said, ad hoc committee bothers you, but we do need a specific task now. If she could, schedule some regular meetings with the businesses to get their input and then take that information back to the commission, and then if business owners wanted to participate in that process as well, could we do something like that? Would that be all right? I mean, because it to me, it's not all or nothing. We gotta, Guardian Boulevard, they've been around since, oh my gosh, World War I, World War II. It's been around forever. And it did have a heyday. It's just along monitoring because of neglect, it's gone down. But I think we need a destination area, and Gardena Boulevard is it. But we got to make sure that, I mean, these folks, Mr. Giuliano and Gilbert's family, they got commitment. They're not just there. They're dug in. They got commitment, and so we need to respect that. So if we can't do that, would you be okay with that?
I'm not 100% comfortable, but I do believe there's room for flexibility.
Yeah,
but,
let's try it.
Well, hold on. We still have a couple more comments. Let's go. Henderson, Tanaka. Hold on. I'm
think-
sorry. Were you finished?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've talked enough, I'm sure.
No, it's okay. Henderson, and then Tanaka, and then we'll keep going.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, in regards to whatever structure we have with the Economic Development Director and GBAC and the businesses in Gardena, because now we have that $2 million, could we also in that discussion talk about an enhanced infrastructure finance district for Gardena Boulevard so we can leverage that, and then that will help us kind of multiply that $2 million, and we can then return Gardena Boulevard to its heyday in regards to an entry into the city, archway, gateway, different things like that. So can we include that in the discussion along with changing the charge of GBAC? So as it's been stated, meeting once every 2 months is definitely not frequent enough. So in changing their charge and giving this assignment to them, then their meeting frequency would have to then be more frequent, for lack of a better term.
Mayor, sir, if I may.
I'm sorry, Mr. City Manager. I apologize. I don't mean to grandstand you. I'm not trying to do that. I just want to make sure that maybe, I mean, it's probably your responsibility to, help. You understand? Help me.
That would go to the
right.
economic development manager. Okay.
Mayor, sir, members of the City Council, Mayor Pro Tem, because the funding was provided to the City of Gardena, it was directly remitted to the City of Gardena. We are now, as a city, inclusive of the City Council and the city staff, we are now the stewards of that fund, $2 million. Whether or not that's enough, which in my opinion it's not, it's essentially a seed money for something very, very good, something that's long needed in Gardena Boulevard. It's now it's incumbent upon the City of Gardena, our staff, to be able to facilitate and how to ensure that money is put to good use. So just like any of our standing GBAC meetings, city staff, including the Director of Community Development, our Economic Development Manager, will be facilitating those meetings from beginning to end, from the beginning of the project to completion of the project. Just like what we did with the Masfu Kai improvement, the Community Aquatic Center, we solicited community input, make sure that their input is incorporated upon the plan for the projects. So yes, we are tasked by our duties to make sure that this is facilitated properly. And to Councilman Henderson's comment on the EIFD, which is an Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District, again, it's my opinion that the $2 million is not enough, and we have to come back to this body, City Council, and ask, would you like to continue the project? And if so, more funding is going to be needed. Having said that, we have a lot of creative ways to make sure that funding is provided. I can say that it's the current financial environment right now isn't what it used to be. As you know, interest rate has gone up. You can no longer get the 1.9% interest rate that we got before. You're looking at 6-7%. Having said that, we do have a robust general fund, and it's up to the city council to say how much would we like to spend and how the scope of the project, how big do you want it to be and where it is. The grant is $2 million, and it's got specific grant guidelines on what to spend it on. So even that, it's limited to what it is, facade improvement, et cetera. You can't deviate from that. What you can deviate is if you spend your own money. And excellent point with Councilmember Henderson about the EIFD. We could certainly look into that. It's going to come before the City Council. It's going to come before the Finance Committee. And then we'll look into a lot of different angles and see how we can leverage whatever we can in order to facilitate the revitalization of Gardena Boulevard.
Okay, hold on. We had Councilman Tanaka.
Just real quickly, it's really important because if you look, Anna's is here, Giuliano's here is here tonight, and those are the kind of business owners on the boulevard that we need to come to these GBAC meetings and put their input and bring the other owners on the boulevard with them. And I would expect, like Mayor Pro Tem said, that GBAC's going to have to get on board and start meeting maybe more, and even having town halls where they can bring people to the Naka-Oka or wherever and have meetings about what it is that needs to be done. Now, if you look at Giuliano's, he could probably have great input onto what it cost them or what it took them to revitalize the frontage of their business. And that could help all the way down the boulevard. But like the city manager says, $2 million isn't a lot of money. But I'll guarantee you, because Gardena Boulevard was actually downtown Gardena in the day, we're going to make sure that Gardena Boulevard stays a part of our city that's historical. And we're going to help revitalize that, even if it costs us more than $2 million. So I think that this GBAC deal, I think it's much better just to put everybody on board and get them moving so that we can figure it out what it is that we need to do.
Okay.
But we, I'm
Let me
sorry.
let go this way here. Councilman, no, it's okay. Councilman Levin, then Mayor Pro Tem.
I am going to respectfully disagree with GBAC taking charge in this. I think what Councilmember Tanaka stated as far as them starting to meet more often is a great idea. However, I don't think this is the time to do that. The businesses on Gardena Boulevard are small businesses recovering from the impact of COVID. They don't have a lot of time. So even though it's $2 million and it's not $2 million is not a lot, it's still something for them to give hope to. And I've talked to some of the business owners that are already considering investing money into their business. I'm hoping that the $2 million will have an impact to the point where if one business starts to upgrade, it's kind of like building or remodeling a new home on the block. Everybody else see the new home, and then they start to do the new home or the new improvements. I'm open to GBAC working with maybe an ad hoc or economic development working with the group, but and like I said, I sat on GBAC for a long time, and to Mayor Pro Tem Francis' point, there is some challenges with GBAC and GBAC meetings, and I've appointed, I have faith in my commissioners that I've appointed to, but I don't think GBAC is the group to handle this. I think time is of the essence. I think our businesses need the assistance, and they need it as quickly as we can get it to them, and delaying it. And I understand government doesn't move fast, but that should be no excuse. If there's legitimate reasons why government is moving slow, I understand that. But to delay the improvements and the revitalization of Gardena Boulevard is is, unless it's a real reason, it shouldn't be done. So I am still in favor of the ad hoc. I think that our businesses on Gardena Boulevard, including myself, because the chamber happens to be on Gardena Boulevard since the 80s, and we got to get engaged. We got to get them engaged. I don't think moving forward without the opinions and the input from the businesses on Gardena Boulevard is going to be a mistake.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, I just think that at least tonight, make some commitment to create some type of structure for that process to happen. For me, it's not enough to say GBAC can handle this, but we really need a process, some type of structure to make sure that whatever information, however you want to do it, there needs to be a process and a structure. And if it's not there, it's most likely not to happen, or everybody might not be involved. So at least, you know, say something that's going to help. Because right now, excuse me, you didn't like the idea of the ad hoc committee, okay. But, I like GBAC, that's a great idea, but can you provide some type of direction tonight so that we have some way they're going to go? If we need something in place, it needs to happen. As far as I'm concerned, it needs to happen tonight. And I think we can get, like I said, when they went down to Van Ness, that's one I know about now. We're not talking about Masukai. Masukai is a park. And you talking about these folks' livelihoods, business owners, you're talking about their livelihoods. So what works for a park, I don't think it's going to work for businesses. So, like I said, when we did Van Ness, each member, you know, had business had some input. There was an organization that was created. Our economic development at that time was Yvonne Mallory, and she met with them regularly to see what it is they wanted, how they wanted to spend it. It really wasn't very much more than the $2 million. The community block grant, I don't even think it was $2 million, but it may have been a little bit more.
It was $2 million.
It was $2 million? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they got quite a bit done, quite a bit accomplished. So, but again, Gardena Boulevard a much longer area. So, at least can we make some type of commitment rather than just say, "Oh, let GBAC handle it," because let GBAC handle it is not a it just doesn't quite work for me. I'm not pushing them out. I'm saying they should not be excluded. However, we need to say something, put something in place, or come back with a plan. Or if you don't want to make a decision tonight, well, maybe next city council meeting come back with some other kind of plan that's going to work. That's going to get their input, get our economic development manager, a community development manager, get all those folks busy and working involved in it, and then come back with a plan to city council. And that way we're not excluded, everybody gets involved, and we have something in place. Can we at least do that, or do I need to make the record? I don't know.
Well, hold on. I'm just make one more comment before we
All
start
right,
talking
go
about.
ahead.
So,
I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. No matter what with this project, I can tell you right now, economic development is going to be involved in it, and I'm going to just assume same thing with community development. With any of our projects that we have, when we get grant money for, whether it was the $7.7 million we got for our aquatic center, the $4 million we got for the Wi-Fi, and now this $2 million here that we have. It's actually $2.75 million that we have for this project here. I'm concerned with us creating all these ad hocs here. And I think in the past with those other two groups, I mean, we have the guidelines when it came to the aquatic center as well as with the Wi-Fi. So now all of a sudden we're coming up with the idea to do this here now for Gardena Boulevard. I mean, now this is setting precedence for every time we receive money to now have these ad hoc meetings. Nobody's saying that the business owners on Gardena Boulevard, that we're not going to hear their input. In fact, I encourage it because, again, I want you to have some say in this, but at the same time, whether we task them with meeting times or whether it's GBAC with their normal meeting times, and then they ask, for input from business owners. And I guarantee you, I mean, as a business owner, I'm a business owner myself. I mean, if I know a meeting's going to go on that potentially can help my business, whatever time their meeting is, I'm going to make it a point to be there. So, I don't want to, I'm not saying this that hopefully it won't be a time to inconvenience them, but this is something that's really important, and that's why I feel a little bit more comfortable with a structured group here. I do think we can make a decision tonight. I guarantee you, we don't want this money just to sit around. And absolutely, we want to do everything we can to help any and all of our businesses that we can. So you can go ahead and make a motion if you like. And, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. You had a comment?
Yes. When was the last time an ad hoc committee was formed to have input on, or the association? Was the Van Ness project the last time that was done?
That was not ad hoc committee, that was the association.
Okay.
So we've never had an ad hoc committee,
Okay.
I can recall.
Was it just input?
And that association worked directly with Community Development Director, Yvonne Mallory at the time. And do you remember how often they met?
I believe they met probably monthly, at least monthly, until, when it was necessary, because there was a lot more involved. I'm simplifying the process because.
Well, let me tell you, it was a long time because there were business owners who didn't like what was going to be done, and they held out. And so that was the problem. It went on for so long, and there were business owners that didn't like the plan. And I distinctly remember because there was a dentist, Dr. Kevorkian, we went down and we fought. Well, hey, he was very vocal about it. And so he held up the project. So it took a long time for them to move forward with it. And in fact, we had to make all kind of special concessions for him because he didn't want to be inconvenienced. More money, the city had to come out of pocket and pay more money because he didn't want his patients to have to walk far. We had to the city had to come out and pay for valet parking. That's what he insisted. So it turned into a hot mess at the time. So again, that's why it took a long time. I don't remember the exact time, but I just remember we were concerned about, will we lose this grant with that? So.
I believe that we're going to have some challenges. We're not going to be able to satisfy everybody. My other concern is, again, emphasis on the small businesses on Gardena Boulevard. Not all of the businesses are going to be able to leave their facility or place of business to come to a GBAC meeting. I think if the committee is formed, keeping the meetings located on Gardena Boulevard would be convenient. At the end of the day, I agree with what Mayor Pro Tem Francis is saying, and if I would like to make the motion to support the ad hoc. If it's voted down, then that's fine.
Okay. There's a motion to have an ad hoc meeting for
You want me to make?
go ahead and make the motion. I'm sorry, exactly what you want.
I would like to make the motion to establish an ad hoc committee to provide recommendations to the City Council on the use of the grant funds for the Gardena Boulevard Revitalization Program.
Hold on one second with that. When you said the different uses, we have to stay within the guidelines, correct? So
Correct.
the guidelines that are,
We don't have the guidelines yet.
we don't have and we have to wait for the guidelines.
We have to wait for the guidelines in order for us to get an input session.
Okay.
So once we get the guidelines, then we can develop some kind, the plan
Okay.
based on the guidelines, because we have to adhere to the
Based on
guidelines.
those guidelines, then we can make a suggestion within those guidelines, what things we want. For instance, if there's 5 guidelines in there, then that's what the group can decide what they want to do or not do?
Well, if there's 5 guidelines there, then you have to do all 5.
Okay.
So where it's just making an example.
The recommendations that would be made would be recommendations within the guidelines of what is allowed.
Right, and when I read the motion, it was on the use of the grant funds. We understand that the grant funds come with restrictions and guidelines and can only be spent on certain items listed in the funding. Again, the motion is just to have the input from the businesses, property owners, and residents on Gardena Boulevard for the revitalization.
Only the input of them.
The motion is to create the ad hoc committee.
The motion is to establish an ad hoc committee to provide recommendations to the City Council on the use of the grant funds for the Gardena Boulevard revitalization. It's pretty much the same thing as the title in the agenda.
Okay. There's a motion that was made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Love and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Francis. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Love,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Francis,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
No?
Councilmember Tanaka,
No.
Mayor Serta.
No. Mr. City Manager, I have a question for you. When we received, I think it was it the ARPA money, as far as how we gave like business assistance for, during COVID? I hope that was right, the ARPA money. Who put the guidelines together for that?
That would be the federal government.
Okay, so the guidelines that they sent over was sufficient, and then we just shared that with the community. Those are the guidelines if you want any assistance with that.
Correct. If they said, you spend, 500,000, for instance, I'm just throwing out there 500,000 on, rent relief or et cetera, then you'd have to stay in that guidelines.
Okay.
That's why, we try to help our businesses with COVID-related assistance,
Mhm.
but because the guidelines were so strict,
Okay.
that a lot of them were disqualified because they didn't meet the guidelines
Okay.
that were set forth.
Okay.
There's a handful of them that didn't qualify because
Right.
they didn't meet the guidelines.
So with this new grant coming, it's going to have some guidelines in there. Basically, this ad hoc committee would, within those guidelines, because it's pretty self-sufficient. I mean, it's for facade improvements. There's a couple of different things on there. I mean, how much more would the ad hoc group actually be doing as far as, what else more would they be doing? Other than residents giving business owners giving some input on there, what more would the ad hoc committee be doing?
So, for instance, if it's facade improvements,
Mhm.
so the guidelines say X dollar amount in the facade improvements, and they can drill into that and say what kind of facade improvements,
Okay.
what color, et cetera. Because the guideline is not going to contain
Details like that.
details like that.
Okay.
But you have to maintain within the facade improvements, but then
Just more detail
just
within.
more detail basically
Within their guidelines.
Correct.
Okay.
There'd be restrictions, though, with regards to being able to, the committee would not be, or whatever, whoever the body would be, restrict the color. Or, now you're getting on subjective things, so now you're getting into, discretionary things. So you can't mandate that they all be the same color. It'd be up to the businesses if they want to do it that way, but the council itself cannot restrict it to a specific color.
Okay, I see. Are there any other motions to be made tonight?
I don't have another motion, but just can I say something?
Sure. Well,
Okay,
hold on.
since-
Well,
okay.
let me see if there's another motion, and then if you want to say something, go ahead. Are there any other motions at this time? Okay, if there are no motions now, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking about maybe I should make a motion, but can we, since there's not going to be ad hoc committee because the thing failed,
Mhm.
can we, do I need to make a motion to say that we put some structure, some process in place to ensure that we'll get business input?
Well, let me I think I have a motion then at this time, then,
Mhm.
before we even go any further with this. I'd like to make a motion that we pass this over to our GBAC, to them, and then for them to put together guidelines, but I would like to see the involvement of our business owners on Gardena Boulevard. And if for some reason they can't make a GBAC meeting, that we make an additional meeting, and maybe it could even be facilitated by, our staff, or economic development director, or somebody to make sure that, there are convenient times that they can put input in as well. But then that way, it still goes back to GBAC, and then they can make their recommendations back to this council, because again, at the end of the day, it's still going to come back to us. For all intents and purposes, we are the ad hoc committee, but if we want to be more formal about this, I'm sorry, I kind of went into the weeds here. My motion was to go to
I
GBAC.
was going to say a motion too.
The
but-
the motion
But you want your motion.
to
your
go to
motion
GBAC.
supersede my motion?
I'm sorry?
Your motion will supersede my motion. I was going to make a motion concerning the.
Well, if I don't get the support, then we move on to the next one.
All right.
Okay, so that's my
But,
motion to send this over to GBAC, and again, open it up to business owners on Gardena Boulevard for their input, as well as maybe having additional meetings if they can't make the regular GBAC meetings, so that maybe it could be meetings in the evening or something. I'll let the staff work that out. And that's the motion I have at this time. Is there a second?
Mayor, can I get
Oh.
a little bit more specificity?
Sure.
Are you requesting a specific number of special meetings or community forums that you would like GBAC to have, or are you leaving that to the discretion of GBAC?
That's, see,
Um,
this, what are you guys doing? Excuse me, I'm sorry.
I'm trying to get clarification so that
Right.
GBAC understands what your motion is.
But you're adding to her motion.
No, she just wants clarification. So I'd like to send this over to GBAC, but then also make sure that in their meetings, that they get input from business owners, at on Gardena Boulevard, but also have additional meetings, maybe in the evening if people can't make it to the GBAC meeting. We could have as many as three additional meetings so that they can give their input, and then that be shared back with GBAC.
So you're gonna. I
Yeah.
think we all need to go back and get Robert's Rules of Parliamentary Procedure. This is really not okay, but I'm good. We'll work it out. This not okay. This really isn't. Robert's Rules says you can't do that. At least as far as I'm concerned. Now someone can make a friendly amendment to her motion, and then she can accept it. But and I know you're attorney and everything, but
Well, the last motion, it
that's all
failed,
right.
and so that's why I'm making another
And-
motion now.
I know, but I
And-
had one too. So
Okay, if
go
my
right
motion,
ahead.
Mayor Pro Tem may make her motion now,
No, you.
and then the last one is the
totally
one
not
we vote
okay.
on first. So if she makes a motion now, then we would vote on Mayor Pro Tem's motion first.
okay, and what about the motion I was making just now?
If Mayor Pro Tem's motion passes, then that motion succeeds. If Mayor Pro Tem's motion fails, then we would go to your motion.
So when we just did the vote just a second ago, and it was 2-0.
There was no other motion on the table at the time that Councilmember Love made her motion.
Okay,
So now, I've heard your motion.
okay,
Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to make a motion as well?
yes.
You can't have two motions before at the same time.
We take the last motion first.
But it doesn't make sense to have two motions before at the same time. It just simply does not make sense.
Mayor Pro Tem, if you'd like to make
Go
a motion,
ahead,
no, go ahead.
Go ahead on, because this is so out
Well,
of
we,
order.
so
But
that,
just go right
so
ahead
that we
and
make
do what
sure.
you want to do.
No,
And,
so that we make
I'm-
sure it's correct.
You know what? Go ahead and make your motion because you're totally out of order, but that's all right.
Well,
We'll
if we-
run this now. I'm not going to talk about it anymore with you.
Okay,
Go
well,
ahead and do what you're gonna
if
do,
we,
'cause
if
I
we
know
want
what
to
I'm
make
gonna
this
do.
correct,
No,
then
I'm good.
I'm
No.
saying, go ahead and make, well, that's why we're saying you can go ahead and make your motion.
No, because we can have two motions on the floor.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Well, you know what? Go ahead and run yours then. I'm good. I know.
Are you sure?
I'm very sure. I know what I'm going to do now. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So I've made a motion. At this time, is there a second?
Madam Mayor or Madam City Attorney, could you clarify the motion, please?
Okay.
Madam City Clerk, can we have the motion read back, please?
Okay, the motion that I heard was from Mayor Serta to send this matter to GBAC, to get input from the Gardena Boulevard business owners, and to have as many as 3 additional meetings so that all business owners can be heard. That was the motion that I heard.
Correct.
I'll second that.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by myself and a second by Councilmember Henderson. Will you call the roll, please?
All right. Mayor Serta?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson? Mayor Pro Tem Francis?
No.
Councilmember Tanaka?
Yes.
Councilmember Love?
No.
Okay. All right, so next we're going to move on to council directives. Does any member of the council have any directives at this time?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
One about the community input report. Remember we had that, the consultant said that, this is why I have a problem with community input, but the consultant said that she had, during her presentation, that she had, because of the homeless strategic plan, we had about 30, 40 residents come out and they asked them all these different questions. She was zooming from New York, by the way, or the East Coast somewhere. And they had all those asked us questions, and we wrote these little sticky notes, and we placed them on this little board. But we never got, and she said that she talked to homeless people, but we never got the report. So I said, and I asked for it last council meeting, I still haven't received it. So, and she's making an awful lot of money.
Mayor Pro Tem, our staff met with the task force last week. We mentioned the directive, we mentioned the information that's needed. The consultant is working on it, and we haven't received that yet, and that's why
He's
you haven't
working on it?
received it yet. Yes, correct.
What task force was that?
The homeless task force.
Oh, there is one?
Yes.
Okay, but she's still working on it.
She's still working on the data that you requested.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about that?
Hold on one second. Do you have any more directives?
Yeah, there is a recycling center behind Gardena Market. Is that legal? Is it okay to have, I mean, they're crushing cans, collecting cans and bottles, and people walking all through there. It looks pretty, right behind Gardena Market. I found this out when we were doing community cleanup. And I thought, well, where did this come from? And I know we're getting complaints from businesses just because of traffic and different folks coming into Element. So is it okay to have a recycling center sitting on the parking lot behind Gardena Market? That's okay? It's zoned for that?
I'm aware that there's a business license, and I would look into it with code enforcement and get back to you on that.
A business license to do a recycling center?
Correct.
And we allowed that?
There is a business license that was issued for that recycling center.
And it's zoned for, okay, so a recycling center, it sits behind the Gardena Market parking lot. The zoning allows that?
Don't know about the zoning as I sit here, but I am aware that there is the business license that was issued a number of years ago.
But that recycling place hasn't been there for a number of years, has it?
It has been.
It has? It's been there for a number of years? Okay, and I just saw when we were committee cleanup. So, but a long time? It looks awfully, yeah. So, but that's okay.
When a grocery store is in place, part of CalRecycle requires that a grocery store have a recycling center or recycling facility, either as the one that is there now, or something within the store where recycling is available. It's a requirement of all grocery stores.
Does Ralph Market have that?
I have not been inside Ralph's Market, and I don't know if there's a recycling center in the vicinity of the square footage that's required, or the distance that's required. I have not looked into that. But with regards to the one that you're asking me about, I am aware that it's been there a number of years, and I am aware that there's a business license, and I will look into the zoning for you.
All right, because like you said,
Mayor Pro Tem.
grocery stores, I thought, like Ralph's Market and Superior Market and all these other markets around here would have, how about Albertsons? Is there a recycling center behind them too? All right, I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering, y'all go ahead.
There's several ways to satisfy that. One is having an actual recycling center, as you saw. The other one is having a mini recycling unit within the store. Let's say, for instance, if it takes the cans, it could be like a vending machine looking thing inside the store, or the grocery store elects to pay the fine.
So you've seen people take bottles and shopping carts of cans and into the Ralph supermarket? You seen that?
Not in that particular Ralph supermarket, but I've seen it on a different supermarket where they have actually a recycling, a smaller unit, and you put it in the cans in there, and it's a do-it-yourself thing.
And I am aware also that some grocery stores, I'm not sure here in Gardena, but I am aware in other cities where the grocery stores, because the fine is not significant, choose to elect for the fine rather than dealing with the recycling center option, and they just include that as the cost of doing business. So there are various ways that they can comply.
Okay, is that all your directives?
May I have a clarification on, is this a directive then to the city attorney?
What are you going to do?
I can provide it to you, that's fine. I don't need a
So we don't need a directive.
You don't need to-
Thank you.
can tell me about all these rules that says that's okay and
I have
pushing up shopping carts.
I
and
have looked into
homeless
the
people bringing their stuff.
I have looked into the Cal
All
Recycle
right.
issue
I'm gonna
and
look
what
at
the
it too.
regulations are, so I can provide that to you.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I'll find out.
Okay.
Thank you.
You have a directive?
I don't have a directive. I just wanted to kind of tag on to what Mayor Pro Tem was asking about. The homeless coordinator, is there a reason why we hired a homeless coordinator that's based on the East Coast? Because when we did the meeting with her, she seemed a little surprised when we referenced certain resources that was available here, one being the county. And she didn't seem like, I mean, there was a lot put on I think the COG resources, but when we're addressing the homeless issues in California, to have a coordinator that's based out of New York, and I was told that she works with a company that's local, but she didn't seem like she was too aware of the resources that were available.
She's not based in New York. She's actually local here in Walnut, California.
With the recycle center, I remember when that recycle center opened, and it was always questioned about the legality of that recycling center. And as much as they may have pulled a business license, aren't recycling centers supposed to be state? Shouldn't they receive something by the state because they're supposed to come and have their scales checked on a regular basis to make sure that the scales are balancing right? So it's more than just a business license, and that was always questioned, was that state licensed recycle center?
The Cal Recycle has to issue them a license, and so will provide that as well.
Thank you.
Any more directives? I have one. One of the things I've been thinking about lately, and it was brought to my attention by a resident, was more things that we as a city could do as far as sustainability, and a lot of great suggestions and ideas. And I got to thinking maybe it might be a great thing to have a sustainability commission where each one of us could nominate somebody to sit on this commission, and they could come together and put some ideas on various things that we as a city could do, maybe even share information with our residents on just ways to recycle, use biodegradable products, things of that sort. I am aware that there is grant money available for cities that do participate in things like this. Information was shared with me about even companies called Replate, where, let's just say, a store like Vaughn's, some of their old produce that they have, if it's going to go bad, they can call the company Replate. They'll come out and pick it up and then drop it off at a food bank or something of that sort. And it's just, one more way of, finding better ways to recycle, conserve, all of those things. And so I just thought, I said, this might be a great opportunity for us just to look at some more ways of doing that. I know a few years ago we were, as a city, trying to do some things like that, and when COVID happened, it kind of fell by the wayside. So I thought, you know what, why don't we let commission come in and, let them come up with some great ideas and bring their suggestions back to our city council. So anyway, that's my directive. Hopefully I can get a second on it.
Madam Mayor, and that would be to agendize the item so that the council can decide whether or not to create a sustainability commission.
That's correct. Is there a second? You have a question or comment? Okay, go ahead.
Is this something, since the Planning Commission, part of their name is Environmental Quality Commission, that we just tasked them with this work, since they haven't really been meeting with items, we can give them some work to do? We need to really, we have these commissions and boards, and we really need to start working these bodies a little more and everything. So being the former chair of the Planning and Environmental Quality Commission, I think this is something, instead of creating another body, we have a trillion commissions, and that's an exaggeration, but we get everybody to kind of get to work and everything. So if we can charge them.
Well, before we go any further with that, so let me ask you this quick question. I apologize if this becomes a little bit of discussion. Stop me, Carmen, if it does. Right now, things could be slow with Planning Commission, but at its height, would you say they would be able to take on a task like that? Okay. All right. Well, I'd be open to that, so I can pull back that, and maybe we could, this directive would be to staff to see how feasible that would be as far as tasking that with our planning commissioners, something like talking more about sustainability. And if staff could come back and let us know if that's something that could work. If not, we'll look at other options.
So
I'll second that.
Wait, hold on. I want to make sure I get clarification. You want a directive having staff provide a memo as to how viable it would be to have the planning commission? Okay, because if you want further discussion, then we need to agendize this.
I would like for staff to look at this first. I mean, you guys know more of what's coming down the pipeline as far as new projects and so on. So for instance, we're coming out of COVID now. I mean, if the agenda for the next 6 months to a year is a lot, then it may not be anything that's feasible. And if that's the case, then bring it back to us and maybe we'll look at the option of a commission again. But if it looks feasible over the next, 6 months to a year, then let's task them with that.
The directive was to prepare the memo. Is there a second on that directive?
I'll second that.
Councilmember. Yes. Okay. Are there any other directives at this time? If not, Madam City Clerk, would you like to read back those directives?
Madam Mayor, you have made the motion and has been seconded by Councilmember Henderson to ask staff to evaluate the feasibility of tasking the Planning Commission with the matter of recycling.
Sustainability.
Excuse me, let me just look at my notes real quick here. Recycling biodegradable products. These are just some of the examples that you gave. Asking the markets to take their produce, which has expired, if you will, and find a good way to distribute that to food banks. Is that more or less?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
correct.
okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Was there another directive, or was that the only one? That was it? Okay. Okay, with that being said, I'm sorry, I got confused in the moment here. With that being said, city manager remarks regarding our previous directives.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, you have two memos in response to previous directives. The first one is the information on adding content to the city's public access channel. A second memo is providing the City Council with an estimated cost to upgrade the City Council chambers' audio and video system to facilitate the hybrid option, and then the
city attorney's office also provided a memo in response to Councilman Henderson and Mayor Pro Tem Francis' directive.
I believe that's all the updates that I have for directives. We do have a video.
About community input, did you,
I'm sorry?
the one about community input from the homeless?
That is a standing directive, so we
All
don't
right.
we don't have a response yet. As I stated, the consultant is aware and they're working on the response. We do have a video highlight from the Recreation and Human Services Department on some of the activities that they recently participated in. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. That ends my updates. I do want to just give a shout out to our Chief of Police, Mike Safel. Very happy birthday, Mike.
That's right. Happy birthday.
That's tomorrow.
Okay. Anything else? Oh, that's it?
That is all,
Okay. All right. Okay, so council remarks. Let's begin tonight with Councilmember Love.
Okay, since our last meeting, I attended the gathering around the table that was hosted by Human Services. I want to give a shout out to Human Services. They did an amazing job hosting that event. It was a great turnout considering it was her first year of doing it. I think more people would have attended had it not looked like it was going to rain. It was a little cold that night, but we still had an amazing time. I also attended the check presentation from Senator Stephen Bradford for the revitalization of Gardena Boulevard. And on this past Saturday, I attended the West Basin Water District Annual Harvest Fest, where I learned a lot about the West Basin organization and their 75th anniversary and the history of West Basin, why it was formed. And it was another Harvest Fest that a lot of the kids came out, a lot of the parents came out. There was a lot of resources, a lot of agencies that was there. And if you ever get a chance to go and visit the Edward C. Little Recycling Water Center and you want to see something pretty amazing, you can go out there and see how they'll take your dirty tap water or laundry water and recycle it and then offer you a glass of water at the end of the tour. I thought it was pretty gross, but it was pretty cool at the same time. They recycle billions of gallons so that we can reuse that water for everything from showering to watering the grass and consuming it. So it was pretty interesting. And I attended a number of other events through the chamber, but that ends my report.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since our last meeting, I attended my independent cities board meeting, and we were discussing the program that we'll be having for our winter seminar. So all will be invited to our winter seminar. We're going back to Santa Barbara, I believe January, February. The dates are still kind of fuzzy. I also attended so stay tuned for that. I attended the Gardena listening tour. I want to recognize and commend the chief for actually being in that space in plain clothes. I think it really has an impact when you can come as a regular guy to the community versus being in uniform. So it takes down the perceived walls by talking to the chief of police versus a guy with just a shirt and tie on and everything. So I want to commend you for that. Listening tour was great. We got to hear a lot of good feedback from the community, things we can improve upon, things we're doing well. So it's always a consistent journey. I participated in my BizFed executive committee. I also attended with Madam Mayor, I know you're going to speak on this later, Gardena KIPP Generations Academy, new school, opened up near the grounds of Perry Middle School. So we have a new middle school in our midst. I co-chaired or chaired my SCAG Racial Equity Committee as we look to figure out how the SCAG region, which is 6 counties in Southern California, on how we address the equity in housing, racial equity in housing, and in regards to our Connect SoCal plan. So we're trying to schedule a time for SoCal to present to our community and our council about the work we've been doing. I attended my SCAG MSRC TAC meeting. That was a pretty informative meeting. I learned that the city of South Pasadena is looking to convert their entire PD fleet to zero-emission vehicles. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but we're going to watch and learn and stay tuned. Chief, you may have heard some things about it, so we'll see what happens with that. I also hosted a youth event here in council chambers. It was a bunch of youth that wanted to understand what it means to be in local government, what our jobs were, what our roles and responsibilities are in regards to making sure we promote and sustain and maintain a good quality of life and different things that we like to do in our community and what they can do to be activists in their roles. I did share with them that if you see something that disrupts your spirit, you should then let somebody know, let us know, and then we respond to the issue. I talked about the Gardena Direct app. They thought that was the greatest thing. So we probably have to publicize that a lot more because some folks weren't even aware of the app. I'm not sure how, but, you know, we still need to get that word out there. I attended the VFW celebration, a recognition for Pauline Moses. As we all know, she's had some health challenges, and hopefully she's on the road to recovery and everything. So it was a great event at the VFW across the street to recognize her. I sat in on the second supervisorial district budget meeting. It was interesting to see what our second district supervisor is working on with their staff and the budget available. I want to thank staff for providing us with the reports as timely as you can in regards to giving us food for thought so we can start working forward on future policies and procedures and things to improve our community. And I just kind of want to remind all that our boards and commissions aren't ceremonial roles just to say that you're on a board or commission. There's actually a charge for every board and commission, and they have a responsibility. So I would encourage us to remind our appointees that there is real work involved. As we found out a few years ago, Mayor Pro Tem is not a ceremonial position. It's an opportunity that if the mayor's unavailable, the Mayor Pro Tem steps up. I think historically our community, we've been kind of lulled into thinking a lot of things are ceremonial, where there's actually, you may be called to come in the game and play. So I just want us to remind our commissioners that they do have obligations and responsibilities by being on a board or commission, and we should work them for the little stipend that they do receive in the time that they volunteer. Madam Mayor, so ends my report.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Mayor Pro Tem Francis.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Since our last presentation, I also attended the presentation of $2.7 million check for revitalization of Gardena Boulevard. Also attended the Perry Middle School Community Garden Advisory Council meeting. Stay tuned for you to hear more about that. And I also attended Supervisor Mitchell held a virtual short-term rental meeting for LA County, for the unincorporated areas of LA County. Got a lot of good information about ways that we can go about how they're going to put their program together. I also attended my Greater Los Angeles County Vector Control District meeting. Now, let me tell you what's interesting about this particular meeting. Well, you know, it's all about mosquitoes and all that. And I got an email from I went to UC San Diego, and so I got an alumni news, and as it turns out, they're doing some very interesting research on sterilization of mosquitoes to control, you know, for mosquito abatement. So I emailed our director of the Vector Control District, Suzanne, and I said, listen, this is what we're doing. So we're aware of that. We keep it going. And I said, oh, by the way, when I was at Masukai for the community cleanup, and I was watching the little dance class, well, my parents were like, oh, that's the fourth one I got. And so I asked her, because she kind of, is there any way we could look into mosquitoes over at Masukai Park? Because we have this Halloween event coming up, and we want to make sure that, you know, people aren't bothered. And at the time, she said, well, we're going to do our best. And I just got an email before I came to the council, otherwise I was sent to you first. But she said they did inspect around the facility at Masukai Park and found that there's a drain right outside the front door that's breeding these little mosquitoes called Aedes. This is a new one. They all have names. But they treated the drain, and they're going to put on a routine treatment. So it said this year improved the mosquito situation for your Halloween event. So that hour drive once a month on Thursday has turned out to be a good thing for the city of Gardena. So if you have any concerns about mosquitoes, please let me know, and we'll ride on it. So and that pretty much concludes my comments for the evening. But just in closing, I think it's important that we take our community. When we talk about community engagement, I think it's really important that we provide every opportunity for success, and that we do all we can to make sure we don't limit those opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and for myself, since the last council meeting, I had the opportunity to visit New Challenge Ministries, their new location. New Challenge Ministries is an organization that They're a food bank, and they used to operate out of Harbor City. They were trying to open up here in Gardena. Unfortunately, we didn't have any spots for them, but they have a new Torrance address, but they service Gardena. So I was very happy to be able to be there for their kind of re-grand opening. And it's a good organization, as I said, that and many of us actually get little notices about all their events that they have year-round. But to attend their opening, as well as they now take clothes, and they now clothe people now for those people who can't afford clothes as well as food. So happy to attend that. I too also attended the listening tour. Did a great job, Chief. And I was really happy to see so many of your officers there. And I think it's a great opportunity for our young officers, our new officers coming in to really hear the community and hear their concerns. And I think overall it's going to make them better officers in the long run. So thank you for having those officers there. And then after that, I attended JCI. They had an emergency preparedness fair over at the JCI Institute. And then later on that evening, I attended the Gather Around the Table event where we were kicking off the toy donation drive. And so if any of you in the audience or those of you watching on TV or YouTube want to donate toys, you can still do that. I believe it's all the way through December 9th. Correct me if I'm not mistaken. Yes, no? They're shaking their heads. Yes, no? Okay, December 9th, where we'll accept toys and for girls or boys, and you can drop it off at any of our facilities in our city, City Hall, G-Trans, Parks and Rec, et cetera. And if you'd like more information on that, you can check our social media as well as on our city website. And then also I attended my monthly CCGA meeting as it relates to our card rooms. And I'm sure many of you guys are watching all the different propositions that are out there. The CCGA, I don't know if I can say which way we support. I don't know if that's...
The council passed a resolution
That's right.
that you guys were in opposition.
and so it's okay for me to say, I don't want to make it seem like I'm endorsing anybody from the dais
It
here.
was a unanimous vote from the
Right,
council.
okay, so no on 26 and 27, and this would be very, very beneficial, voting no on those items, so it would help out our card rooms a lot. So I just want to remind our community that we do have 2 card rooms that we rely on, and voting no on those 2 initiatives will help us out in Gardena. Also, since the last council meeting, I attended my monthly sanitation meeting, as well as the grand opening of KIP Generations Academy, along with Councilmember Henderson. And it's always great when a new school opens up, more opportunities for young people. I'm very supportive of public schools, charter schools, private schools, different kids, different environments. It helps out for them. So wherever our kids can learn in different type of institutions, I'm all in favor of that. And then on this past Saturday, I attended the 35th annual NAACP California-Hawaii convention that was here at LAX. I brought greetings from the city of Gardena, and as well as a certificate welcoming them for their state convention. And then I also attended the VFW picnic, and as was mentioned earlier, where we recognize one of our own employees here for the great work that she's done in the past as it relates to being the liaison from Gardena, the city of Gardena, to the VFW, especially during our veteran ceremony. And then lastly, I'd just like to commend all of our employees who participated in Day at the Beach, where we take inner city kids to the beach. For some kids, they've never had the opportunity to go to the beach, or maybe they've only been there once or twice. This was a great organization that I got a chance to be involved with a couple of years ago, and a couple of Gardena employees got involved, and then we had kids, as you saw from the picture, where they were all wearing red, where we took them to the beach and they got a chance to experience playing in the water, swimming, and all that other good stuff, as well as being chaperoned. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it's something like 300 kids from the inner city and Gardena were there. So I just want to thank our staff for participating in that, and I've heard really great things from last Saturday's event. And with that, that ends my report. Next up is Councilmember Tanaka.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since our last, I actually met with one of our colleagues from Lomita. I met with Councilmember Warnick just to talk about what's going on in the South Bay. I attended a legislative briefing through the COG which invites all of our legislators to come and tell us kind of what bills and things that they have going on. I was kind of hoping to hear from Senator Bradford tonight because he wasn't at this one because he was with the president. So he kind of chose the other side and went to the president. So I look forward to hearing what he has to say next month. Also attended the PD's listening tour, and Chief, was a great event. It doesn't matter how many people come, it's about the information that's shared and how the community participated in that. And I thank your members, your officers and staff that showed up to support that. That was a really good event, and just makes you proud that you're our chief. I also attended the CERT exhibition at the JCI. There were a lot of great things to learn about earthquakes. Anthony gave a great earthquake presentation with sound effects and a lot of other things that went with that, entertained the kids and kept their attention. But if you have not attended or seen a CERT presentation, I would recommend that you do that. I think the City of Gardena CERT is doing a class in Gardena this month. So if you're interested on being prepared, that would be a great place to start. Let's see. I also attended Senator Bradford's presentation, donating the check for the Gardena Boulevard revitalization. I missed the KIP. I had another engagement, so I missed KIP Generation School, but congratulations to them on what they're doing for our community. And I attended the VFW's annual picnic. They do this every year for their veterans, and it's just nice to get out there and, you know, sit down and have a lunch with them and hear some of the stories that they talk about during their time in service. And I also was glad to see Pauline Moses there. She was very emotional seeing all those people that came to honor her for the work that she as a city employee did with the VFW. And they presented her with a really beautiful plaque. So that was a great day. And lastly, for those that may not know, our former city treasurer, Ingrid Tsukiyama, there is going to be a open celebration of life. It would be on the 30th at about 1 o'clock at the Gardena JCI on 162nd Street. And that ends my report.
Okay, thank you. A couple of quick announcements. Just want a quick reminder again, the prescription take back is this coming Saturday, October the 29th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Right off of 162nd and Western, which is usually right in front of our police department. Also, coming up in November, we have our CERT training class. Councilmember Tanaka mentioned it in his report briefly. If anybody would like to take CERT training, they have, it's 3 segments. They're 8-hour classes, November 5th, November 12th, and November 19th. It will be offered here in Gardena at Nagoka Center. The training is free. I encourage everybody to take it. I've taken it. I'm CERT certified, and I believe several council members are here. It's probably one of the best training classes one can take to prepare yourself for some type of natural disaster like an earthquake or some type of mass casualty. So I highly encourage everybody to please consider taking the CERT class. And then also, just a reminder, our elections are coming up, the general election, which will be Tuesday, November the 8th. Right now, you can drop off your ballots. We have a 24-hour ballot drop-off box at 2 locations. One is at Raleigh Park at 132nd and Van Ness. The second one is at Nagoka Community Center, which is at 1670 West 162nd Street. And Election Day, as I mentioned, is on November the 8th. And I believe the times are polling's open at 7?
I believe so, 7 o'clock.
7 to 8 p.m.
Correct.
Okay.
And then, yeah, that's on Election Day.
That's on Election Day.
Mhm.
But again, the drop-off boxes are available. And that ends the announcements here. We don't have any remembrances, so we're going to move on to adjournment. The Gardena City Council will adjourn to the closed session portion of our city council meetings at 7 p.m., followed by our regular city council meetings at 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. So at this time, we are adjourned. Thank you.